It is a very unique company. We sell land. This is ranches, this is farms, beach access, recreational properties, a lot of hunting properties. We specialize in rural land sales. We work with solar. We've at times been one of the larger solar land. We help facilitate land sales with solar. We also work with commercial real estate. So we have several divisions that we work with, and then we have subdivisions with auctions and leases and stuff like that.
In this episode, I'm talking to Matt Christian, CMO of National Land Realty, the second largest land realty in the US. They're doing over $1 billion in land sales every single year. We're going to talk about number one, how do they enable their agents to sell so much? Because at the end of the day, the success of a real estate company really depends on the people. Number two, we're going to dive into the KPIs. What KPIs do they look at to measure the success of digital ads and events? Because some of these sales take over 3 years to complete. And number three, we're going to try to figure out things like how much you spend on marketing every single month or year. What's the secret sauce behind events? Because events work really well for them. How much exactly does Mac make as the CMO? And every time he cannot answer a question, we both have to take a shot of hot sauce. Wish me luck, Martians. I hope you enjoy this one. Hello, Martians. Welcome back to another episode of Marketing on Mars. Today, we got the CMO, Mac Christian, CMO of National Land Realty. This is a new type of company on the show. National Land Realty, they sell land, basically. They're the second largest land realty company in the US. They have over 400 agents, and I heard they do over $1 billion in land sales per year, but I'm not sure. So we got Mac today to answer all of our hot questions. Mac, thank you for coming on the show.
Hey, thank you as well. Glad to be on.
What's that? Explain your backgrounds. Are you what are you doing back there? You're like a guitarist?
I got more hobbies than I should have. So family first. I spend a lot of time with my family. I do a little dabbling in guitar. I do some oil painting. I've got my head is on my duck here. So
Yeah,
I got some
see that.
painting. Do a lot of outdoor stuff: fly fishing, hunting, camping, hiking, all that kind of stuff. All the typical Northwest stuff.
So, okay, explain this a little bit. Obviously, I'm based in Vancouver. We are your neighbors up in Canada, and you're based in Idaho. You've told me that you guys do a lot of hunting out there. How big is tell us for people that are outside of Idaho, what is Idaho like living there?
So it's Idaho, Montana, northern Wyoming, northern Utah, Oregon. Those states, it's a lot of public land. Anything west of the Mississippi has public land. If you look at the United States, there's this huge discrepancy between east and west. Like back east, a lot of private land. There's like 10% public land. West of the Mississippi, like Idaho, I think is around 60% public land. So I can drive 10 minutes north of me and I can walk mountains until I fall down. So it's a lot of open land. The mountains will run up in Idaho around the bigger ones are like 10,000 feet that are like accessible. And then we have wilderness areas that there's no roads or anything. So there's no civilization there at all. So it's all pine mountains, ski hills, whitewater rafting, that kind of stuff.
Wow. And okay, so we're gonna dive into the company. I'm very excited because you guys are gonna be the first real estate, anything related to real estate to come on the show. So it's going to be very interesting. I'm probably going to have a lot of dumb questions. So bear with me.
Only if you can bear with my dumb answers. So
yeah. Okay. All right. So we're even. I'm going to have a lot of questions. I want to know, like, if I were to start in your field, what it takes to win in marketing. And obviously you as a CMO, you touch everything marketing. So I'm going to have a lot of questions. And the name of the show, obviously, and I've told you this, we're going to start off the show with a shot of hot sauce. I have about four. I have a little wall. I know you have a few, which we're going to get into. And every single time throughout the interview, I'm going to ask you basically questions that I want to know with a friend of mine. So I'm going to ask you unfiltered questions. And anytime that you cannot answer any questions or you cannot disclose it because of, privacy and all that, We'll just take a shot of hot sauce and then we move on to the next question. So, for the first time, what weapon do you have for us? I don't know what you guys eat out there for
I
spicy food.
grabbed so I grabbed I'm going low on the first one because I'll make myself cry later. I have Melinda's black truffle hot sauce. And this one's
Okay,
almost empty, so obviously I've been into it a little bit.
so you know this, and then how spicy you gonna get later? Like, what is your
Uh, I
what's
have
the
a
spiciest one you have?
I've got a habanero, I have a ghost pepper, and I have a reaper and pineapple garlic.
So you eat spicy.
I'm
You're a
gonna I'm gonna
spicy
work my
eater.
way through Tabasco first and see how we do, because
Okay. Yeah, I'm the same. I'm the same. I'm gonna start. So closest to me, I have a habanero as well from Cancun, and
okay.
then and then the second one will be a spicier habanero, and then I'm gonna go into Reaper territory. So that's
Woo.
a Carolina Reaper from Portland. I love this brand. I've been using it for a while, and then I'll go if we want to go crazy. I got one. This is my favorite hot sauce. This is from Seattle. They won a 2020 pepper competition. So it's pretty damn spicy. All right, so we'll start off with the habanero. Let's get
All
this
right, I'm
show
gonna
on
go
the
with
road.
my weak sauce here. Oh, well, my office desk is now covered in Melinda's hot sauce.
Damn it, Melinda.
I know. Are we doing it?
Yeah, I got.
All right.
Yeah, all right. Cheers. This is perfect because I ate some food. The last 3 episodes, I've been complaining that I didn't eat food, so I prepared for this one. I'm ready to go deep with you. All right. So let's start off the show a little bit. We've kind of talked about your background, um, but let's dive into a little bit more. Your entire background, you started your career in Boise, Idaho, where you currently live, right? As a graphic designer, and you kept moving on to different kind of graphic design slash marketing and content roles, and you've been at several different companies, but you joined National Land Realty just a little over 2 years ago. Walk us through your career progression and your career story and how everything led to you to where you are today.
Yeah, it's fairly unique as far as any kind of marketing leadership. I mean, it wasn't one where I went and got my MBA straight out of college and then went into marketing management and like pursued the director role. Started as a graphic designer, and it. I liked it. I enjoyed it, but I was always just kind of pushing for more responsibility. And I don't
Yeah.
like to be told I can't do something. So it was one of those, like, as a designer, I remember in an agency job I had, it was like, well, no, you don't need to go into account management. You just need to stay in the corner in the dark place and like make things pretty. And, you know, that kind of role just didn't jive with me. Like, that's just different personality types fit better in different situations. And
Yeah.
so I pursued account management. I pursued more leadership, and then something that was lacking is like in those roles, there's not a lot of experience in finance, and so I kind of had to find my own experience and build. I built my resume ad hoc is what I did, and so I kind
Yeah.
of built my own path, and I eventually got to director roles, and then I just given what we talked about already, I really like the outdoors, the rural space, and so I kind of started pursuing positions in that sort of area, and it just I kind of fell into positions, and I got to know people that, like, the job I have now was from a previous employer, and made an exit there, and then they helped land me this one, and they didn't
Mm.
help land me, they gave me the reference that got the door open, and there was pretty stiff competition for this one. I was just a good fit for the company and where they were at the time, and there's timing, there's people, there's experience, it all just kind of builds together to, you are who your resume says you are.
Experience, timing, people you know. Obviously, timing is so hard to control. Experience, you're gonna get experience. right? Over time, you're always going to get experience. Just hopefully you're getting the right experience. And then the last piece, people you know. How important is it? People talk about, eh, the famous saying, it's all about who you know. How important is it? Like, you've now been in the marketing industry for, call it 14-ish years. You
Close to
probably
20.
know this better than
I'm
any.
close
Close
to,
to 20.
yeah.
Close to 20. Wow. So how important is it? Like, if you were to give a rating, how important, like a percentage rating, how important is it to just know the right people and just like build your network?
I think, it's who you know, and I think who you know gets lumped a lot with going out and meeting the right people, but a lot of it is who you know, as in who are you around right now, because those are going to be your future
Hmm.
references. That is going to be your network, and so I think the who you know depends on just the relationships you cultivate with the people you're currently are surrounded by, because in my situation, right, like I did get some good referrals. I've had the privilege of working with one agency I worked with twice now, because I left and then came back because I kept good rapport, and I didn't burn bridges. I had to learn that as my career went on, not to burn bridges, because when I was younger, that's not something that I had in my pocket.
Yeah.
The knowledge is paramount, I think, to anybody pursuing a larger role. I came out of college. I'm an art major. I'm not exactly someone you're going to trust with your finances, right? Because again, art majors aren't exactly known for like their engineering skills, right? So I had to
Hmm.
build that manually. I went out and I started work. I worked for 2 years in finance to and it was sort of with an overarching goal to build myself as a professional. I backed it up with an MBA. That's very, very helpful. I think that's any level of leadership. It's a very valuable tool. But I mean, experience can overcome education any day, right? Like if you have the experience in those areas and you build it, we're in a day and age where you can acquire your own knowledge however you choose to build it, and so it
Mm.
just depends on how you
Absolutely.
choose to build it. So
Yeah, I totally agree. Especially
how
now,
would
like you can literally have your entire degree online nowadays. Like, there's so much to learn, ChatGPT and everything. There's so much content out there. You don't necessarily have to go down the traditional route, and a lot of people are not going down that route anymore. So I agree with you. Agree with you there. Let's shift gears a little bit. We're gonna jump back into you and your background near the end of the show. But as this is a marketing podcast, I want to dive in and I want to understand your company and also what you do for marketing, because you guys, I've heard in the grapevine that you guys do a lot in terms of land sales. We're gonna try to get into that. Maybe let's give some love to the company. What exactly does National Land Realty do? Maybe you can give us some overall like stats. Give us a sense of how large the company is.
yes, so it's a very, I would say, in anywhere that I've been, any experience I have with any business, it is a very unique company. And so just overhead view, we sell land, we sell dirt. Like that's the easiest way that we can put it in front of anybody. We specialize in rural land sales, so that we do not do residential. So
Mm.
this is ranches, this is farms, beach access, recreational properties, a lot of hunting properties. But at the end of the day, we sell dirt. We work with solar. We've at times been one of the larger solar land. Uh, we help facilitate land sales with solar. We also work with commercial real estate. So we have several divisions that we work with, and then we have subdivisions with auctions and leases and stuff like that.
Okay. And then in
And then,
terms of,
sorry, I
I've
didn't answer
heard.
your question. I didn't
Oh
answer
yeah.
your question. You asked me
Okay.
about sales. So
Yeah.
last year, 2022, we were well north of 1.4 billion. 2020 or
Okay.
2021, we were well north of 1.5 billion.
Okay. So you guys are growing pretty fast.
But
Um.
I mean, I'm talking, the that's a negative growth. So 2021 was 1.5, 2022 was
Oh,
1.4.
okay.
And what it means is that
Okay.
we're highly susceptible to inflation or to interest rate risk. Is the thing that
Right.
we've been dealing with. The land, just real estate in general, markets have been sort of upended in the last 2 years, and so the market risk is very high with our industry.
I see. What are you kind of guesstimating for this year? Like, is it going to be better than last year or worse because interest rates haven't gone down?
I don't know if they will. It's going to, this year's a definite struggle. What it is it's just interest rate shock, right? So there's the inventory is very low. What we're
Mm,
seeing, the average land sale per transaction is holding strong. It's dropped a little bit, like I think about $50,000 per transaction. We average the average sale for us is around 700,000. We have at any given time we have a dozen to two dozen, or north of a million. Sorry, we usually have a half dozen, 20 million plus. We usually have, oh man, anywhere up to 100 that could be over $1 million. It depends on the amount of listings that we have. We
mm,
carry an inventory usually of around between 1,300 and 1,700 listings per month, just given rotation and sales and everything like that.
I see. And what are you anticipating moving forward? You mentioned one line. You don't think it's gonna interest rates will be coming down. Where do you see this taking us in the next 1 or 2 years?
Yeah, and we've interviewed a lot of economists on the interest rate issue, and the last 20 years interest rates have been so low. Like the younger generations don't even remember a time when interest rates existed, right? Like we've had zero and
Yeah.
interest for so long, but where we are right now is historically just about average. So we've now come back to historical normal, and we've seen interest rates as high as like 14%, 20% in some cases, like in that late 1970s, early 1980s, when interest was very high. um, I don't I'm never going to move in anticipation of things dropping, right? In any market, when things raise, they tend to not drop. Interest is different because it's a federal control. It's the really the one trick pony they have to control the economy. Um,
Yeah.
there's people saying the thing of like buy now and wait for inflation, or wait for, I keep on saying inflation, wait for interest to drop, and it's like, no, don't do that. Like you can't bank on that. So what we have right now is shock, right? When anytime you introduce a new stimulus to people in general, they sit on the wings, and you've just
Mm,
introduced a lot of change to you know to the general public at large. And so a lot of those transactions that could have taken place, people are just sitting back and just saying, okay, what's going to happen? It's going to take a while for people to adjust and to come to terms.
mm,
The value that people are getting off of their property sales is going to be lower because of the interest rate. Not as many people can buy it if you have that high price that you expected in 2020. So the market has to adjust. It's probably going to take anybody I've talked to, and I have the same opinion, is a year and a half, 2 years for people to start adjusting. And so we're about probably halfway through where people are going to start moving a little bit.
yeah. Okay, cool. So obviously a lot of things we can't control. Um, but we still got to move forward, and your company still has to move forward, still has to grow. Now, your area is in a very unique area. You're selling land. I can't imagine people, clicking uh like an ad, right? Like a Facebook ad and be like, "Yep, I'm going to sell my $10 million plot of land." Marketing might be a little bit different for you guys. What kind of areas are you spending money on when you think about your marketing budget as a CMO? Where are your like top channels? Where are you spending money?
Yeah, and it took me a fair amount of time to get my head around this industry, because I came from a more traditional marketing background, and so and a lot of people when they think about it just internally, that's sort of the dialogues that happened when I came on board
Yeah,
was,
yeah,
what are we doing for ads, and what are we bringing in for, and it's like, we had to sort of change the paradigm internally of no amount of ads anybody is ever going to see is going to make them sell the family ranch. Like, oh, I just saw this great ad, I'm going to sell everything. Like, it's never going to
yeah,
happen. So,
yeah.
and it's not like I could go out and put up a sale like, hey, farm 50% off. Like, that's never happened either, right? So like it
Yeah.
works different.
Black Friday,
And
buy one get one free kind of thing.
buy one get one free. I would take that, right? Anybody would. So it real estate is unique like that, and in a, a lot of what it gets pitched as is everyone has a shiny thing. Every real estate outfit has a shiny. Like we've got a TV show, we've got a magazine, we've got this and that, and then the question you always have to go back to is like, did that actually close the deal for you? Did somebody come in and talk to you and say like, oh Chuck,
Yeah.
your personality is trash, but I love your TV show, so I'm going to sell. Like there's it has more to do with relationship, and so what you come back to every time is sales enablement, and the key is relationship building with our agents and their community at large. It's different than residential real estate in that we deal a lot with rural communities, and their rural communities tend to be highly protective. They're highly insulated, and you have to know somebody. You have to, and what it comes down to is trust, right? If you are from outside of their area, you don't have trust because they don't know you. So what we cultivate is giving an environment where agents get the proper tools to learn how to build a following, to get to know people, to build trust. It's
Mm,
really just sales enablement at a mass scale.
right. Um, and what are the top ways where that you guys support your agents? Is it just through community events, or like what are these kind of things that you guys are doing to support the team?
Yeah, so since we work at a national scale, every and I can speak to this very well because I come from a very rural community. My hometown has about 500 people. New
Yeah.
Meadows, Idaho, if you want to look that one up. Terrific place to grow up. So every small town is different. Like so, in just my area, right, within 100 miles, you have a rafting centric community, you have a logging centric community, you have a resort centric community, and you have a farming centric community. Each one of those functions and behaves very differently. And so when we look at it from a sales enablement
Mm,
approach, we basically have an internal marketing team that will function on request for pretty much anything any agent needs across the country at any time, which is it puts a lot of pressure on us, but we produce that stuff constantly. We also produce tools in the field for them to use on a constant basis. We run, we do what we can to do brand awareness on a mass scale. But one of the things that limits us is that let's take the same constraints of a rural community. You're
yeah.
running a Google ad with, you know, to people that probably aren't checking Google all that often, or when they
No.
are, they're doing business. And there's there's a preconceived notion if you're talking rural, you're not talking like high tech. Not the case. When you're talking ranching and farming, you're talking about highly educated, highly driven individuals that are running businesses, but they don't have time to surf the web. So you're not going to capture as much on
Mm.
Google. We do have a lot of capture on traditional Facebook. That is a high
Oh.
output for leads. So
Okay.
Facebook tends to be a great one because in your leisure time, you get off of a day of work. You think about the age range. The age range is right. You're talking 40 to 60 years old. That's the, I'll say 30 to 60 years old are your heavy Facebook users and stuff. They're still there and they're still moving. The conversation is still there for us.
Interesting. So you got sales enablement, which you know basically you got an internal marketing team that will support these agents in whatever area they want to get into. So they want to get more involved with logging community, and there's like there's a block party happening. The internal marketing team will support there, right? That kind of thing.
Yes.
You got the sales enablement. You got ads. We talked a little bit about ads. We'll dive into those too. Any other channels that you guys are using to target or to do marketing?
Yeah, so channels. So we'll work with industry partners. So industry partnership works as a referral, right? So if you're working with a brand that is familiar with our target audience, it does enact some level of referral. So word of mouth is still king when it comes down to our industry. If someone refers you,
Yeah.
you're good. So we work a lot with referral partners, and
Hmm.
that just requires like sponsoring influencers, sponsoring a brand. working with a brand for a giveaway for product awareness with our agents. So that becomes a big one because for certain products, our agents become a really, really great referral source. And because when they work with landowners, they get to refer things like surveys, they get to refer things like hunting equipment, they get to refer things like tractor supply. So all that stuff
Mm.
matters on a word of mouth level. The other thing that we've done really heavily is invested in technology. So we created a way to do a tour of real estate from the sky. It's just a 3D tour from the air, but we enabled the plotting of three-dimensional resources on the ground that you can see from the sky. Zoom in, check it
Wow.
out. It's how you see the 3D home tours. We enable that from a sky view on a large acreage plot of land, and that's been really, really influential. It is sort of a game changer in our industry. We're the only ones that have anything like that. So we've put a lot of focus on technology instead of what I've referred to as like the shiny thing. We want to put something in somebody's hand that helps them move their product, meaning helps people sell their land for them. And when it comes down to it, our product that we sell is our agents. That's that's kind of
Mm.
how we function.
I recently had a conversation with the founder of a company called GeoPogo, and and they're using AR, like art. What's AR? Augmented reality, where you can put on. Sorry, I'm tired. You put on a pair of goggles, and you can envision a building on a plot of land. Like they'll create it, and you put on, and so you can kind of, it becomes like a selling, uh, like a tool to help sell developers that are building land. But maybe that can help with your land sales too, right? You can put on an AR goggle and like, hey, this is what it can become in the future if you sell the land. You ever like looked into things like that as well?
We have not looked into augmented reality. I mean, the level that we do, the output has to be so fast. So like you get the land, you get it listed, you have to go take, the agents go into the field, and a lot of what they're doing are things like site indexing for timber, like how much timber will this site yield and stuff. So they have to do the studies first.
Oh.
And so, because the land sales are
Mm.
very, very, very dynamic. You've got to go into everything from soil composition, pH in the soil, uh, timber output. Like this is all working. People are buying a business a lot of the times when they're buying land, or it's just to hunt or fish, and then you have to do things like, well, what's your food plottage? What kind of protein is your food plottage yielding? That kind of stuff. When
Interesting.
the tours go into place, you've got to implement very quickly. And so we've set up a system, a back end system for agents to do that. I can imagine augmented reality would take some time to implement at scale.
I don't know.
It
The
might be
way that
fast.
the
I don't
guy,
know. I don't know anything about it.
yeah, the way that the guy described it was it's pretty fast. Unless you want to be very detailed with how it's gonna look, you can. They have like a stock 10-story building that they can just throw in, or like a stock 20-story building that they can throw in, and they'll just Control C and Control V paste it on top of each other. So if you want to you want to build 5 high rises on the plot line, just Control C, and then you can just kind of envision it. I don't know. That's the way it was described, but yeah, I mean,
I'm
it
highly
sounds like what
intrigued.
you're
I'll tell
doing.
you what.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, if he's watching, or if you have the reason, I would be
if he's
down to have that
watching,
conversation.
yeah, no, if he's watching, I think I speak with him. I've only spoken with him 3 times, but he's based in San Francisco. Um, but and they're yeah they've been growing, so I think it'll be interesting if they're watching. Um, so you got sales enablement, you got Facebook ads, you got industry partners. Anything else? I heard you guys have a podcast as well. So is content creation also another bucket?
Yeah, so content creation is kind of that's a lot of the focus that we run with our I guess I didn't speak to that. I didn't do it. I'm not doing a very good job at my job right now. So I I'm I'm very, very, very blessed with a terrific team. They're very
Mm,
flexible. They do about, I would say, 60% of what they do is the sales enablement side, which is just supporting people in the field that know their communities, that know what they need.
yeah.
The other side is they churn a lot of content. We use a hub and spoke on most of our stuff. We just leverage wherever possible. So the podcast is a really, as you probably know, podcast is a really easy way to get a lot of content that you can leverage to other resources. And so we'll use that as a spearhead, but we also take internal content and third party content, meaning we'll work with other vendors to produce content with them. But we do the podcast. We're getting close to like 2,000 downloads a month, which is kind of interesting for how niche
Oh,
we are. We've done it
that's
all
very good.
almost completely organic is where we've done that. And then we leverage each podcast piece into articles, and then we put those out on social media. We run those on our blog, and it's twofold, right? So you put information in the people's hands. Information builds trust. You don't trust somebody who doesn't give you good information. The other side is it's a good sales tool for the agents. So that's the real backbone of what we do is we provide knowledge to the agents through this content, but it's also knowledge that the agents can pass off to whoever they're working with. So it's a holistic kind of model that we work with.
That's awesome. How much are you guys? This will be our first hot sauce question. How
Ooh.
much are you? I think you can answer this. How much are you guys spending right now in just like podcast production? Like, how much are you spending per month?
Oh, on the
All in
podcast?
cost. Yeah.
Oh, you don't even want to know. It's embarrassing. It's next to nothing.
Really? You guys are spending
Yeah.
$0?
I mean, so we have our subscription for Adobe Creative Cloud where I run my editing. I'm hosting, so we don't pay a host. We do our distribution almost completely organic. We will pump maybe a few $100 into ads depending on placement and effectiveness. Um, we are very, very
Wow.
bootstrapped. And I mean, like industry wide, right? So I spoke to interest rate risk. We have cut every cost imaginable. So it's very, very it's it feels like a startup with an established company because
Wow.
because of the nature of our business. We're very, very conservative minded as a company. So if we think that there's risk in the market, we're going to make sure that our company is protected, meaning that we can support our agents still. And so when it comes down to it, if it's going to be between running ads and supporting our agents, the ads go first. And so we concentrate a lot of our
Wow.
ads towards you know trying to build up different markets. So we just got done running one for duck hunting season, right? And like
Mm.
duck hunting centric properties back east. And so that took up a lot of our budget. We do a lot into recruiting. The podcast does not have much left over, so we've been able to
Wow.
bootstrap that. Most of the growth that we've experienced is by having third party guests on the podcast, and it's guest
And
distribution
they'll share
when
it. Yeah.
and when they share it, it goes and it comes down to if it's useful and it provides good information, it'll grow. And so we try to make it as valuable as possible.
Wow. So you do all the editing. You don't have an editor. You don't pay an editor. You don't have social media person. You don't do any of that stuff.
I'm sort of a unique CMO on that level because, like we've talked about how I came up in the industry. I have experience with most of the things out there between copywriting and video and editing and all that. So I look at it as what can I throw at my team in a given amount of time. And so when it started out, my team was really overloaded, and I was like, okay, if I throw an editing thing at anybody on my team right now, they're going to snap. And so it was one of those where I have the tools and I have a couple extra hours that I can weed out of the month. Um, I make it happen.
Wow. That's amazing. Okay, what about your full marketing budget? Right. Talk about ads, someone managing the ads, and the cost to run the ads, sales enablement, the rest of the content production, because I know you guys also do social media and maybe emailing. We didn't include emailing. Like, what is your monthly or annual marketing budget?
You're gonna make me take hot sauce. Yeah, so that's we had the conversation, and so this is where the industry is unique. Any bit of information that gets put out there in real estate gets kind of cutthroat, and it can be used against you. And so we keep things a lot of
Oh,
things behind the veil.
okay. We're
And
going
really, there's
to
not.
Mr. Picante.
I'm gonna run to Tabasco.
All right, let's do that. This is only our first shot of hot sauce. You've been answering everything.
All right, yeah,
Cheers.
Tabasco.
Ah, ah, that is so spicy.
It looks like you felt that a lot more than I felt mine. Um,
Yeah, I think
I'll up
so.
the ante on the next one. Yeah, and
Woo.
it's a question I would like to be able to answer for you. Uh, we don't have a lot that are worried about, but the industry at whole tries to stay buttoned down, and so we just made a decision on this interview that we're going to keep a little buttoned down.
Yeah.
In
All
other
right.
words,
All right.
organizationally, we're willing to put my taste buds at risk.
Yeah. Yeah, it just goes to show. They're just throwing you under. They're throwing your taste buds under the bus.
Uh huh.
All right. Okay, let's dive in a little bit. What time we have? We're 35. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about ads because that part is interesting.
Yeah.
You said Facebook ads are working, Google not so much. What is your breakdown? Like, how much are you spending? If you look at your overall budget, because I'm pretty sure you can't share how much you're spending on ads, what percent is going towards Facebook and what percent is going towards Google nowadays?
That I can. So percentages we can talk to easily. That's a great one. So between Facebook and Google, it's it's about 50-50. Is where we are now. We
Wow.
run we run specific uh targeted ads toward Google. We focus on a certain we focus on sellers for Google. We focus on people who are looking at selling land, that are looking for more information, and so we try to supply that information. There's a lot to consider when you're selling land. Everything from uh, access points to I spoke to the other stuff before, right? Your income sources, whether it's ranch, farm, recreation. There's a million variables, and it's much more complex than I ever gave it credit. So we put a lot of seller ads on Google. Facebook tends to be, it's Facebook, so it's going to be more visual. It's got to be more
Yeah.
quick bites, that kind of thing. We put as much information out there as we can. Facebook has actually evolved in the last 3 years into the heaviest driver of leads that we have,
Wow.
which is I am as
Um,
surprised as anybody else could be off of that.
Hold on, but how do you guys measure it though? Are you guys measuring it in terms of viewership, clicks into the website? Like, how do you drive? How do you measure success with ads now with third-party cookies kind of disappearing?
Yeah, a lot of that's going away, right? So we won't be able to see in the future, but we could see on the tail end of it. GA4 is out now. It's kind of like been that's been a great tech project by itself. Um, so we started seeing growth in traffic really heavy in second quarter of 2022, and so we started putting a lot of focus there. And at the time we were capturing a lot of form fill kind of stuff that would come in through that channel, and then we started pulling that into recently have integrated a new CRM, and so we've been tracking a lot of lead progress through our CRM. We have
Which
limited
CRM?
visibility now. So we use Follow Up Boss now. Is what we ended up going with. It is a real estate focused CRM that we're pretty pleased with.
Cool. Okay, so you guys are your main KPI that you're tracking, and correct me if I'm wrong, is cost per form filled. Is
Yeah,
that
we
the
that's
main
our
KPI?
target conversion. Yeah, so we'll check out that for conversion. Pipeline wise, that's like the first point. If you get a form fill, if you get a request for new information, somebody who wants more information on buying or selling is sort of where we run our conversion from. Uh, and then the other part of that is when we get, it's the word of mouth stuff. If an agent meets somebody in person, we'll be tracking that too. That's always your highest conversion rate. And there's sort of conversion to entry into, right, our sales funnel or whatever you want to call it, right? It's just our sales
Yeah.
process. Final conversion is of course running a transaction, right? Like I,
Right.
I'm using wonky terminology. There's some CMO out there that probably wants to slap me upside the head.
Okay, so the one thing I wanted to ask though, you guys are all across the US, over 400 agents now. Is that correct? 400, is that the number? So it's all across the US. Are you running ads for every single region possible? Like, you got one for Idaho, you're running ads for San Francisco, and then you're breaking it down very niche, or are agents responsible for their own ads?
So it's hit and miss, right? so agents by their nature in real estate are independent contractors. They can, we can't tell them where to show up for work, right? It's their job to kind of do their thing because they own their own business, so they
Right.
can run ads. What we will do on request, and so it's, we have a submission system for any request. If an agent wants to run ads, they don't know how to do it, we will sit them down and we'll put them through a clinic, and this is how you do it, this is what you do. If they want to run it to their market independently, it they cover the cost there, and then we run a national approach of brand awareness that we hit in kind of any of
Mm,
the rural markets. We put a percentage concentration in areas where we have a higher percentage of agents because we can cover the territory better. So we'll put out more awareness in those areas, and then there's some areas where like we have like one agent, in 1,000 miles or whatever. That's 1,000 miles is too big, but you know what I mean. Um, so we'll run less ad spend there because really, if we created a lot of leads, we wouldn't be able to cover it. And so it has to do with percentage of agents in the area, and then we'll run brand awareness to it.
I see. Okay, cool. Um, and let's see. We got a few more minutes before we jump into our final segment. Um, we were talking a couple of weeks ago, and you said something that really stuck to me. You said something along the lines of people focus way too much on the data, and they don't really focus on like the social intelligence part and having empathy in their marketing, like losing the human focus of marketing. Talk to us a little bit more about that. You mentioned it, and it just really stuck to me.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm really putting myself at risk here by I can make myself sound like a flaky marketer, right? So, what I don't want to make it sound like is that data doesn't matter. Data is the backbone of a lot of what we do, but
For
the
sure.
the word the word of uh, a data-based marketer or a data-centric marketer, like that word has been so strong for so long, it started driving a lot of the conversation. I think marketing did what most things do, is they jump on trends, and it's not, I mean, it's a trend that's going to stay. Data is always going to be a thing, but over the last 10 years, I'll say 10 years, I'm making stuff up, right? I'm pulling it out of my pocket, but there's this focus on data. Like, I'm a data centric marketer, and everything I do and say is based on data. And like, it's a lot of that, like, well, when I smile 3 times, I close more. Like, that kind of stuff started. It is. And so it kind of got silly to where you were measuring every increment of things. And when you do that, you lose the social intelligence. You lose that ability to imagine yourself in a crowded room, and how do you engage a
Yeah.
stranger in a crowded room. And you know product marketing with high volume, you do have to pay a little more attention to that. Like, that becomes very data driven because it's at a higher scale. And with what we move with, like, we're at a much slower pace. Our transactions can take 5 years, and we chances of us having a return customer are nothing, right? Like, you might get that customer twice in your lifespan. Institutional investors will work with a lot, but for us, it's a huge relationship building thing. And so, what we have to pay attention to is that very, very empathetic human side of conversation. I do think that there has been a loss of that. I think that there's been a few campaigns that have come out lately. What's the water? You can probably the
Which one?
water in a, what, I can't remember the name of it now. I
Oh,
just blanked on it.
uh,
Liquid
oh,
Death.
I know.
Is it Liquid Death?
Death, Liquid Death. Yeah, Liquid Death.
Yes.
That one.
So
Yeah,
Liquid Death started putting out these crazy ads, in the last
about
year,
water.
that
Yeah,
just blew everybody away. And it's like, you do not see that often anymore, right? Like, there's those types of ads that are really resonating because they're taking risks and relying on the human equation. Those gamblers are not as common, and because
mm,
data centric marketing is very conservative. And so, yeah, I do think that there's a human side that has been lost over the years, that is, everybody comes back to the mid ground, right? Like, you move to an extreme. We're seeing it politically now. I'm hoping everybody comes back to the mid ground, but you see people go to trends and they go to extremes, and then they'll always come back, and then
yeah,
it's like, it's no longer the driver, it's just a tool in your belt. Data is a tool in your belt. It's a backbone tool, but it's not the end all be all, right?
yeah. being in the middle ground is boring. It's not good for marketing, even though that's how people should be. If more people were more, in the middle ground and had thoughts like that and not go to extremes, I think there would be less arguments because we're all just we can understand both sides, but everyone likes to take the extreme side. For example, and this is my next point, some people are saying performance marketing is dying. And you and I talked about this. It kind of is dying, but some people are saying no. There are some areas, depending on which industry, it's not all dying, but for a large majority of the cases, performance marketing is starting to die down because third party tracking, to your point, it's not relevant anymore. Yeah, it's so much harder to retarget. What are your thoughts on performance marketing?
Yeah, I mean, I it's kind of that middle ground answer, right? Like I'm not going to say dying because I don't think that it's going to ever die. It's just it's evolving to something that is a tactic
Something
that is
else.
yeah, it's just instead of being, you know, the only thing that's happening in a certain department, it has to be viewed more holistically, right? Like for this channel, for this thing, we rely more on performance marketing, something like that. Uh, I, I don't think that it's going away anytime soon, but I do think that the overemphasis on it is probably chilling out a little bit, which is good, right? Because
Yeah,
extremes stay that way, and they can't be maintained.
yeah,
It's definitely, I think, a lot of what drives marketing in any way, shape, and form is that it's the fear of missing out, right? So and so is doing it. They had remarkable success. Everybody needs to do just that. And it's like,
yeah.
you know, you need to I'm trying to come I'm really great with analogies here lately. My brain's struggling. But you can focus on the tires of your car, but if you don't focus on the engine, it's not going to move very well, right? Like you've got to have the whole thing
There you
go.
go. There you go.
I pulled one out of the hat. See that?
That was a good one. You deserve a hot sauce shot for that. You deserve it.
Why would I do that to myself?
I'm kidding. You you don't
Wait,
deserve it.
you got to get
But
me with one
we
here, though.
okay. But we are gonna move on.
All right, let's do it.
I think we have a like 10 minutes left. I'm gonna move on to a new segment that I think I'm gonna get you on.
All right.
It's a new segment that I'm not sure if I told you. I'm gonna give you three dad jokes. Jokes that are kind of dry and probably gonna be revolving around marketing. If you laugh, you gotta take a shot of hot sauce. I'll give you three. And if you don't laugh, I'll take a shot of hot sauce. Okay? Does that sound fair?
You want me to throw you a mercy laugh in here anywhere? They are dad jokes, right? Like,
Yeah, don't worry. I got some of the
all
best.
right.
Some of the best. All right, you
Okay.
ready? All right. Oh god, some of these are actually dirty. I can't do that. All right, I'll start. I'll start. I'll start off. I'll start off with a marketing joke. Um, how did the dad know that his daughter was going to be a good marketer one day?
I don't know.
Her first word was data. Okay, okay.
I had to swallow that one, man. That was there. That hurt. That hurt a little
It was
bit.
right there. It was right there. Okay, so I got one. I'll do it later. I got two more
All right.
jokes.
All right. All right.
All right. All right. Um, some of these are funny. All right. I used to work. I don't know if I told you. I used to have a job at a calendar factory. We just printed calendars all day, and I got fired because I took a couple days off.
Ah, you know what happened is
You-
you had the first one, and I'm holding it together. They built. They. It's a snowball.
oh my god, that's so funny. All right. So this last one. Um. All right. You know what? So you laughed, and then you didn't laugh. This last one We'll do it anyways. We're both gonna drink anyways. But let's
We
see.
both
Let's
got some
see.
hot sauce. Yeah, yeah.
We both hot sauce. But if you lose, whoever, we'll just do a little bit more. We'll add a little bit more on our on our on our
All right,
on
all
our
right.
spoon. All right, last one. How do you get a guy with one arm out of a tree?
Oh
You just
no.
wave at him. You just wave at him. Okay.
So we got coffee and habanero mixed together in this thing.
I'm gonna go spicy. I'm gonna go Carolina Reaper, like you said. I'm going spicy.
Are you okay?
Are you gonna
I got the
Are you gonna join
habanero.
me?
Yeah, no, I laughed too. I think let's be fair to each other. We kind of tied. Actually, no,
You kind of tied.
well, not really tied. I kind of grimaced, laughed, mouth smiled on that last one there.
Ish.
So
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
it's probably me. I think I have the heavier burden here. I've
Well,
never
I'll do
opened.
Carolina Reaper. I'll do
Okay,
Carolina Reaper. Is that Carolina Reaper as well?
this is
Is that
habanero, but I've never had it,
okay?
so I
That's
have no
fine.
idea how hot this is.
That's fine. I'll do this. I'm probably gonna go straight to the washroom, but
All right, I've got
cheers.
a Reaper on hand.
Uh,
There it is.
yeah, it is spicy.
Yeah,
It is spicy. Damn it, Tortuga Gordo. Why would you make such a hot spicy?
I like the plug
Oh,
there. You get props on the plug.
I need to find hot sauce manufacturers that I actually know. These guys are just guys that I found at a bachelor party when I went to Portland.
Kind of
If
feel like I
anyone
did you
listening,
dirty there.
sorry.
I feel like I did you dirty a little there. Like that one, it was hot, but it didn't really like. I'm not making that face, so I feel like
Ah, I'm sweaty. I'm sweaty. Oh God. Okay, so we're done with this segment.
all
This
right.
segment is not good. We're drinking no matter what. I do want to ask you one quick question.
Yes.
I wasn't sure if you. I feel like this is a perfect time to ask you because you probably really want to answer and not take another shot because we just took one. Um, how much do you make as a CMO?
How much do I make? I'm keeping that one buttoned down.
No,
Yeah,
no. I
taking a
thought you were
shot.
gonna give it away. I thought you
I'm
were gonna
taking a
give it
shot,
away.
and
No. Okay.
I am gonna do this in your honor here with the Reaper. Um, this is the Senor Lechuga hot
Did you shake
sauce.
it? Did you shake it?
I did. I shook it. I got
Okay.
the vinegar out of there.
I'm gonna get some water. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, do that. You need to. This
All
feels
right, I'm
hot.
back.
All right. I got this. I got the Reaper. I'm gonna run it.
Good luck, my friend. We believe in you.
Oh, that was a terrible idea.
Whew. That is spicy.
Yeah,
Well,
that was a punch
well,
right in my mouth. Like that's
this last 3 to 5 minutes, you're gonna be
I
talking. So good luck. I just want to
I'm
understand a little bit about your background,
okay.
like what life was like growing up. Oh my God, so spicy. So you started off as a graphic designer, like
Yeah.
a while ago. You went to school in Boise. You went to Boise State University, did your MBA way later on at Oklahoma. But basically, essentially, you graduated with a graphic design, Bachelor of Fine Arts. But what was life like, for young Mac? What was it like? What was your childhood like growing up?
Oh, childhood? That's a unique story. Yeah. So I grew up in a hillbilly town in the middle of nowhere. There's a logging town. My dad was a logger. Everybody around me was loggers or worked in ag, ran ranches, something like that. I actually moved in from out of town, so I got initiated. I was the out of towner that moved in. And
Initiated.
that's what I mean. Like those, like if you were not familiar, man, you got to go through a thing to be trusted. So yeah, I moved in. It is very there at the time. This is gonna date me a lot. There's no internet. There's no TVs. So like we did hillbilly things all the time. So it was a bunch of hillbilly stuff. Uh, 8-man football. 500 people in the town. Everybody knows everybody. Uh,
Wow.
ski hill, ski hill within 20 minutes. So I skied a lot. Um, got up to a lot of mischief. So you come up with
Mm.
your own entertainment. So yeah, and it's a unique thing because your focus is on hard work. I My family owned a feed mill, and so I started working in a
Mm.
feed mill. I started working in an industrial feed mill when I was about 8 years old. Um,
Mm.
they kept me out of all the machinery though. That's no good. And I like to say with agricultural based families, like you don't have kids, you just increase your workforce. So
That's a good one. That should have
I
been your
had
dad
an
joke. You
yeah, that's my dad joke.
should have gave one back to me. Yeah, that's a good one.
God. So yeah, it was a unique background. Just small town kind of life. Yeah, there's a lot of focus on, like I said, the kind of the work side. Not a whole lot of focus on people going to college and stuff like that. I ended up going. It was great for me. That was my path. Uh, it sort of
What made
I
you
was
decide? What made you decide to go down that path when everyone around you were hillbillies doing, working on the farm and stuff, and you decided to get an arts degree, and then you did graphic arts. Like, what made you decide that?
I actually started out, I wanted to go into pre med, and I got into my first math classes. And it was like, oh, this
Wow.
is terrible. And it took me a while.
Oh my god.
What it took me was a lot of maturing to be able to really function in a mathematical environment, and I didn't have it. I
Mm.
wasn't mature enough, and so I did the thing that a lot of small town kids did, which was I'm gonna get the heck out of here, and so I did, and now
Wow.
the last 10 years of my life is like, how do I get back to that? Because it was really nice.
Yeah. Life was probably a lot more simple, right?
It's a lot more straightforward, really, and it just
Yeah.
comes down to nature is a part of my life. I am uncomfortable with city lights and concrete. I'm fine there, but I gotta have access to the outdoors, and I want my sons to have that kind of stuff. I want to be able to provide that to their life because there's the difference, right, between when kids grow up in that environment and when they grow up in a more urban environment. And I like the country environment. I want my kid to get dirt in his mouth and like run around and do silly things in the woods. So
Wow. So, what made you decide to leave? Like, was there like a moment in life where you're like, I don't want to live like in a small town. I want to see bigger opportunities, or was it your parents saying, you know what, Mac, like you can do way bigger things outside, or friends? Like, what made you decide to leave? Because that's a huge decision to leave everyone behind.
yeah, yeah, my mom was a pretty heavy influence on that. She didn't get to finish college. She had an accident halfway through college. She raised me. She's a quadriplegic. She's paralyzed, and
Mm.
so her college got cut short. And she put a huge emphasis on that. Like, you need to go out and experience the world. You have to go and get your feet outside of your local community, and you have to grow that way. And she
Wow.
kind of kicked me out of the house. Like, she's kind of like,
Wow.
"You're on your own, kid. Get out of here." And didn't give me a choice. She
Wow.
didn't want me to stay because of her or any kind of other kind of loyalties. For me, I didn't know why I wanted to go to college at first. It was just the next step, right? But what I always had was like a really, really aggressive approach to learning. I had kind of an obsession with it, and once I realized that that's kind of what secondary education is, or realize that's what college is. Um, I sort of I enjoyed that part. I didn't necessarily apply it all the best. I was kind of a doofy undergrad. I pulled it together in grad school, but in undergrad, I was very aggressive about learning, and
Mm.
that's sort of why college was good for me, is because I had that
Mm.
approach. I think had I grown up in the internet age like nowadays, I probably would have been, you know, as a kid, crazy about that. As an adult, I
Mm.
still am, but I think it would have given me a leg up.
Yeah. No, that's so cool. And hearing your story and everything that you're doing now, um, your mom will be proud. Um, are you still pretty close with your mom?
Oh yeah, I call her pretty much
Yeah,
daily. I annoy
yeah,
her on the daily. Yeah.
that's awesome. And well, thank you so much though for coming on the show, being a champ, and taking that last Carolina that Reaper, or was it Ghost or Reaper that you did the
That was
last one?
Reaper. That was Reaper.
Whew, that's you're a champion. We're definitely gonna have to do round two at some point. Excited to hear the journey, what where the company ends up at the end of the year. Hopefully, there's like a bit of a recovery, right? But uh, people that are listening that made it all the way through, they wanted to learn more about you. They want to connect with you. What's the best way for people to kind of follow along your journey and connect with you?
Yeah, hit me up. I check my LinkedIn on the regular, so you can just find me, Mac Christian, on LinkedIn. That's a really easy channel to get a hold of me. I'm pretty open. I'm very, very transparent. I'll answer pretty much anything. I just want to thank you. This is really, really cool to be on here. I I know it's a lot of me blabbing, so I really appreciate anybody else who's gotten through this. I really appreciate that. Um, I hope I've answered some questions or maybe inspired something or given some information that's useful.
Well, you've inspired me to make a trip out to Boise and check out the shooting ranges and all that stuff. But Mac, appreciate you, and we'll catch up very soon.
Say howdy when you get out here. We'll give you a tour.
Hey, hope you enjoyed that episode. I know I did. My mouth was burning on fire for about 30 minutes there, so I had to take a quick break before I recorded this, but I really just wanted to say thank you for tuning in. Most of us work at home nowadays, and we're all just in our pajamas, in our t-shirts, and in our hoodies. It just feels really fun and really light, and that's the kind of vibe that I'm trying to give. If there's anything that you want to add into the show, new segments or new topics to talk about, feel free to throw it into the comments below. Thank you so much again. Would not be here without your support. Until next time, peace out. Hope to see you soon.